Everyone, good evening, and welcome to the City Council regular meeting. Today is February the 2nd. I'm calling the meeting to order. It is now 6:30. We're going to stand, please, and we'll have Councilmember Perez lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Councilmember Gama,
Here.
Councilmember Perez,
Here.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez,
Here.
and Mayor McQueen-Lejeune.
Here. And we're going to move to our inspiration that's going to be given by our Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my honor, my pleasure this evening to recognize Selena Soto, who's here with her family, and Aaron from the Boys and Girls Club of Oxnard and Port Hueneme. Thank you for coming out tonight. Slides are up. Let's go. It's a bright, early morning on January 1st, and families across the United States gather around their TVs to watch the iconic Pasadena Rose Parade. This event draws a massive global audience with viewership estimates ranging from 30 to over 50 million in the United States, plus an additional 28 million internationally. That means more than 70 million people witnessed the renowned floral spectacle featuring imaginative float designs, world-class marching bands, honorable first responders, our proud military personnel, respected businesses, and noble nonprofits. In December of last year, I was inspired to learn through social media that a young Latina girl from Port Hueneme had been chosen by the Port Hueneme Oxnard Boys and Girls Club to be part of this year's Rose Parade on New Year's Day. The specific float entry was built by the Boys and Girls Club of America and named Kindness is Free. Selena was one out of 5 young kids from the Greater Boys and Girls Club chosen to represent the Boys and Girls Club Teen Center. Her selection to be part of the Rose Parade was not only her personal achievements, but the positive impact she has made within and around the Port Hueneme community through her many accomplishments. Among her accomplishments were that she has been a member of the Port Hueneme Boys and Girls Club since she was 7 years old. During COVID, she stood with them when they opened exclusively for the members of Bard School, and she joined them there as well. She was also ambassador for the Boys and Girls Club Kindness is Free campaign. She is a proud member of the Brent's Drug Prevention Program at the Boys and Girls Club Teen Center. It is a Robert Shapiro Foundation in honor of his son Brent, who unfortunately passed away from drug use. Robert Shapiro, as many of you might recall, was a former attorney for O.J. Simpson. Selena is a Junior Youth of the Year for the Boys and Girls Club of Port Hueneme Teen Center, and as Councilman Gama will attest, she joins the Port Hueneme Beach Cleanup on Saturdays as much as possible. I am inspired by Selena's accomplishments, and to me, she is a rising star born out of our community of Port Hueneme. For Selena, I believe that she has a promising and rosy future, and for this reason, she is my inspiration and hopefully an inspiration to everyone she meets along the way. So I'd like to offer a few moments to invite Councilman Gama to say a few words as well.
Yeah, as you can see, Selena always has a smile on her face. And it was a number of years ago where she came out to Hueneme Beach Cleanup for the first time with her parents, participated wholeheartedly for a number, 3 years maybe. And then I also remember her first wetsuit, and her father and I took her body surfing and surfing, right? And it was a crazy day. It was a fun day. We got sunburned. It's just such a pleasure to know the youth of our community who are doing right. And Selena's a great student. She's a great participant, and she's a great softball player, pitcher. She's a great participant at the Boys and Girls Club, and so I couldn't be happier. My time for inspiration is at our next meeting, so I was kind of elated to know that Laura picked up on your successes, and And on behalf of all of us, we just want to say continue to do good, study hard, work hard, and we look forward to seeing you into the future.
Okay, I'd like to invite you and your family to come up so we can get a picture of the presentation.
Speech.
Stephen, you want to come down?
Sure.
You want to say a few words or anything? Okay, it's okay.
You can stand right here. Wait, okay. I just want to say thank you to Gabe for all the help that he did with my speech. I want to thank my family. I want to thank you for Gama for writing my recommendation letter. I want to thank everyone that invited me to come here. It's an honor, and I will remember this for a while, for a long time. So thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yes.
Yeah. I'll just say it'd be nice to have a photo of the family, and then I see some other folks in the room from the Boys and Girls Club that you can come up as well. With the family first, yeah.
One, two, three. Okay. One, two, three.
Congratulations,
Okay.
thank you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you all want to come? Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
And we'll see you. We'll see you on in high school.
There. Do you guys want to
You
stand?
want to stand up, or you all
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
get out of it? You want the picture of you? Oh, you sure? Okay.
One, two, three.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, and I forgot to acknowledge the parents, Mona and Mr. Soto. You've done such a wonderful job with her, and you're just a prime example of raising this rising star here. So we'll be looking forward to seeing more of her in the future. Thank you for all you're doing.
And I just want to say one thing. It is great to see her father so excited for his daughter. And so just really appreciate all the work. It's a representation of yourselves, right? And so that's wonderful. Yeah. I love seeing you. Yeah. All right. So we are now going to move on to the next item. This is public comments for items not on the agenda. So each public comment is 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
Yes, and first I just wanted to note that we did receive 2 written comments that were posted on the website and are available outside in the public binder for your review. Council also has them in front of them, and they were sent to them before this meeting. The first public comment is from Peter Dixon.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Peter Dixon. I'm a project manager for the Nature Conservancy. We are one of the Ormond Beach project partners along with the State Coastal Conservancy and the City of Oxnard. And I was coming out tonight to talk about the Ormond Beach Restoration and Public Access Project, and specifically proposed pedestrian bridge that would connect Ormond Lagoon to Wanimi Beach Park. And the Ormond Beach Project Partners have been working together since 2009. And in 2021, we presented a preliminary plan that included improvements to the Ormond Beach, the span all the way 2 miles of coastline between Naval Base Ventura County to Ormond Lagoon. And it includes boardwalks, trails, public amenities, as well as habitat restoration. The only part of the plan that touches down on the City of Port Hueneme property is this pedestrian bridge that is intended to connect Ormond Lagoon from Perkins Road to Hueneme Beach Park. The City of Oxnard presented some details of the planned bridge in October, planning department with the city manager. And at that time, there was not support for the bridge element. So I wanted to request that the consideration of the pedestrian bridge be included in a future council meeting, and also wanted to communicate some of our intentions around this particular element. We feel strongly that the access to nature, improving public access for this community, both the City of Port Hueneme as well as the City of Oxnard, is critically important. And to demonstrate that, at this time, we've secured over $41 million to implement this investment. So right now, we're at the 60% design stage, and we need to know if we can proceed with that particular design element in order, basically just to plan it and get permits. And whether or not we build it will be up to you. It could be deferred to the future. But we want to include it in the plans so that the community can see, hey, we want to provide access to the coast for this South Oxnard community. We want to provide these amenities not only for the City of Oxnard, but for the City of Port Hueneme. This is about a mile of new boardwalk and trails, interpretive signage, overlooks, new trailhead features, as well as increased management. A large part of the funding would go to transformational management for this area of Ormond Beach. So if I could have the opportunity to present in the future to talk about this specific design element and get you guys' attention. I sent documents by email that you guys can review with the design details. So thanks for your time.
Great, thank you.
Mayor, if I could respond. So obviously the item's not on the agenda, it's public comment, so the council's not able to comment on it, and I can only comment briefly. But I sent you an email right before the meeting. I saw your comment that think there's maybe some miscommunication or telephone going on. I actually did not meet with the planning department in October, and we have not given an opinion on the project. What we did do before a meeting, we had set a meeting with them, and we had sent them questions that the city would have about things like access, maintenance, all the questions cities have about projects. Is the city responsible for maintenance of the project? Et cetera, et cetera. And the City of Oxnard ended up notifying us that they did not know the answers to all those questions and agreed to basically come back to us when they had more information. So so it's a little different than, I don't know where, the facts you stated, I don't know where that information came from, but it's a little different than that. We had said we were willing to meet and consider it when we get the information. We haven't gotten the information yet. So I think if there's somebody in Oxnard that you're connected to, and maybe you can connect the three of us, and if they have the information and are ready to discuss, then that could be a path forward. So, all right, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Greg Ross.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, esteemed council members. I've been a resident of Ventura County since 1969. 57 years, where did the time go? A belated Happy New Year. I'm really on the cusp of whether I should be saying that because people stopped saying it in February. But I'm thinking about the future and where we were in 2025 and what's going on with a thorny issue, if I can use that term, with the port. So I drew up this little one-page document that shows you what the positives are with our city relationship with the port and what the negatives are. And you can read it. I don't need to read it to you. The most important one on this list is highlighted in sort of a pink purple, and that is the lithium-ion battery fires and the fact that we still, to my knowledge, do not have an Amber Alert system for that. And I'm going to remind you that the port The wind, 95% of the time, blows from Carpinteria to Malibu. So it comes to us. So we hear the noise, we get the pollution, and if there's ever a fire, God forbid, we would get that immediately. So it's an important consideration, this little piece of paper. I hope you look at it. I've given it to the port, and now I'm giving it to you. So I'm really here to talk about something that's perhaps a little difficult because it involves perhaps money, but you each have this in your packet, and I can show it to you in a bigger form, which is this. This is the parking lot right outside of the pier at on Surfside. So there are no parking stops, concrete stops. So I've included in here, and I'm sure the city can do better than I did, but these aren't that bloody expensive. But if we put these there, I'm assuming they're young people that love to do donuts in that parking lot. As you can see, it's right there. They do it all the time. It usually starts around 4 o'clock. I actually have I'm sorry to bore you with my details, but
Nice and warm, Rocky.
that's what we hear. And I'm not on the main part near Surfside. I'm back away a little bit. So that's what we hear. And the weekends are worse. Usually starts in the evening, and we're asking to see if you can do something to help us with the noise. And it's pollution too. I mean, these are things that go into the ocean. These little bits of rubber, it's not good. All right,
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And that concludes public comment.
Great, thank you. We're going to move on to the agenda approval. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda?
Second.
May I make a suggestion?
You can, but I think your suggestion is a number 9, and it's going to be what I think you're going to request.
Yeah, I was just going to request that we're not ready to go with number 9, and maybe we should pull it from the agenda.
Well, number 9 is to not discuss it.
Okay.
That is what number 9 is, so I think it's good to be on there, and then when we get there, the recommendation is not to discuss it.
Okay, so you motioned?
Was there a second?
Yes.
Okay, great,
Okay.
great.
Okay,
Madam
all
Clerk?
in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. So do we have any members of the council that have a conflict of interest to disclose for any agendized item? No? Okay, we're going to move on to our presentations. Our first presentation, we're going to welcome Coastal Keepers to the podium. We have anyone? Okay, great. And while they're making their way, we're going to have Council Member Gama is going to read the proclamation.
Yes, the excuse me, proclamation is for World Wetlands Day, and we know we have a lot of great activities going on here locally with Coastal Keepers, Surfrider, and then I lead a little group called Hueneme Beach Cleanup, and so our efforts have really impacted our coastal environment, so it's really my pleasure to be able to acknowledge World Wetlands Day and the effort that you and others and we're all put out. So, whereas World Wetlands Day is a global awareness campaign that gives a voice to wetlands around the globe, and whereas on February 2nd, 1971, the Convention of Wetlands was adopted as an international treaty and was the first of the modern global multilateral environmental agreements, with the only one devoted to a specific ecosystem, wetlands. And whereas today, the convention has a global membership of 172 countries, officially known as contracting parties. And whereas World Wetlands Day is celebrated every February 2nd since it was established in 1997. And whereas World Wetlands Day is supported by the United Nations, where the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution in 2021 establishing February 2nd as World Wetlands Day, inviting all 193 UN member states to observe the day. And whereas the wetlands theme for 2026 is Wetlands and Traditional Knowledge, celebrating cultural heritage, spotlighting the timeless role of traditional and indigenous knowledge, cultural practices, and community stewardship in sustaining wetland ecosystems and preserving cultural identity. And whereas wetlands sustain life and are central to human well-being and providing clean water, food security, and nutritional variety, clean air, medicines, climate stabilization, protection against extreme weather, recreational opportunities, jobs, and positively impacts mental well-being. And whereas wetlands are the Earth's most threatened ecosystem, and the World Wetlands Day increases global understanding on how much wetlands do for humanity, and that we must care, nurture, and support them for a sustainable future. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Port Hueneme does hereby recognize February 2nd, 2026 as World Wetlands Day and encourages all to value and steward our wetlands.
Great, thank you. Would you like to have a couple of words? Go right ahead.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Coastal Keepers, we are honored to accept the World Wetlands Day proclamation from the City of Port Hueneme. We thank the Mayor, City Council, and staff for recognizing the importance of wetlands to our coast, water quality, and our community resilience. We accept this on behalf of our volunteers and partners who work to protect these vital ecosystems today and for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a picture.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Would anyone like to have any words at all? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for Coastal Keepers for being out and hosting the World Wetlands Day on Saturday. I went out there for a little while and helped pull weeds and plant seeds and pick up trash. You guys do an awesome job, and I know you've been in existence now for, what, 4 years and 4 or 5 years? And going strong. So I want to say thank you for all you do for our ocean and our beaches and our wetlands. And Adam, you are a champ. I watched you pull a mattress and a shopping cart out of the lagoon or the creek, and that was quite exciting. So, I mean, you did a wonderful job. So thank you all, and I enjoyed my time out there. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Thank you so much for coming out. Did you have something?
Just keep doing what you're doing. I think we're making a great impact. The effort is very well received in our community, and I know the South Oxnard community as well. So thank you.
Great, thank you. We're going to move on to our second presentation, which is the Black History Month proclamation. And so we're going to have Councilmember Lopez read that. We don't have anyone here tonight to receive it, but we'll make sure it gets somewhere.
Okay. So the City of Port Hueneme Proclamation, Black History Month, February 2026. Whereas much of the City of Port Hueneme's honors, strength, and distinction can be attributed to diversity of culture and traditions that are celebrated by our residents, and whereas African Americans have played a significant role in the history of our nation and California's economic, cultural, spirit, and political development while working tirelessly to promote their culture and history. And whereas as a result of their determination, hard work, and perseverance, African Americans have made a valuable and lasting contribution to our community and our state, achieving exceptional success in all aspects of society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. And whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor and to affirm the importance of Black history throughout our American experience, and is full of individuals who took a stance against prejudice, advanced the cause of civil rights, strengthened families, communities, and our nation. And whereas all Americans are encouraged to reflect on past successes and the challenges of African Americans and look into the future to improve the society so that we live up to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Council of the City of Port Hueneme does hereby recognize February 2026 as Black History Month and invites the community to celebrate the diversity, culture, and traditions of our community. Proclaimed the 17th day of February 2026. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Lopez. Okay, now we're going to recess from the city council meeting and call the Housing Authority regular meeting to order. The time is now 6:57. Can we get a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Okay. Member Gama,
Here.
Member Lopez,
Here.
Member Perez,
Here.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Here.
and Chair McQueen-Lejeune.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Member Brown is absent.
Great. We're going to move to public comments. Do we have any public comments not pertaining to the agenda items?
No public comments.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to the consent calendar, the Housing Authority consent calendar. These items will be considered routine and will be approved in one motion unless an item is requested to be moved for discussion. But before we get to that, we're going to take any public comments for the Housing Authority.
And no public comments for this either.
Great, thank you. So at this time, does any member have a request to remove any items of discussion? If there aren't any, then we'll go ahead and, is there a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar?
So move to approve?
Second.
Great, thank you. Madam Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay, so there's no business items. Any authority members have a report or comments?
No, thank you.
No? If not, we're going to adjourn the Port Hueneme Housing Authority regular meeting and reconvene to the City Council regular meeting. The time is now 6:58. And we're going to, okay, we're back to the council meeting. So we're going to now look at our consent calendar for the council meeting. All items will be enacted in one motion unless a council member has a desire to pull an item for further discussion. But before we get there, we're going to ask if there are any public comments for the consent calendar.
No public comments.
Great, thank you. So does any council member, would any council member would like to pull an item from the consent calendar?
I'd like to pull item 4.
Item 4? Okay, so if we're going to pull item 4, anyone else? So can we get a motion to approve items 1 through 3 and 5?
Move to approve items 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Second.
Great. Madam Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
item number 4?
So in the report, it stated that the recommendation was to go with the 2-year terms for Alexander Contracting, but during the bidding process, they actually they're a little pricier. I think it was like $3,000 than the second vendor, and the third was disqualified for not meeting the deadline. So was the vendor that wasn't selected, did they meet all the requirements?
Good question. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. So Alexander's, the company that we are recommending, did come in $3,000 higher on the annual fee. The second proposer was DB Utility, who is a new company. They've been doing business for about 2 years now. The qualifications were just night and day. So they really had very minimal meter reading experience. So it was really an easy selection. Again, the qualifications, they just weren't even close. So.
But they met all the requirements. You guys were just more satisfied with the excellent service that
Correct.
Alexander provides.
So yeah, we've been with Alexander since 2013. They've always done a good job. They work hand in hand with the finance department, with billing. So the staff, they only had one person available to read meters according to their proposal. So the last thing we want to do, what Water Division wants to do, is put a burden on the finance department with billing, and it's just kind of a trickle effect. So again, Alexander's has been with us since 2013. They've done a great job, and that's why we are recommending Alexander's.
When are we going to go to like a digital meter where it self-reports?
So we're doing a 2-year contract right now with 2 options. Possibly 2 or 3 years from now, we hope to go to AMI. So that's kind of was the thinking with the 2-year contract.
Okay.
So currently, we're doing a meter pilot with 5 different meter companies. We're in the process right now. So we have 5 different meter types in the ground throughout the city.
Got it.
So,
Okay. Yeah, I read the report, and my real question was, did they meet the qualifications? And it sounds like they did, right?
They did, but their staffing was very minimal. To bring in one person to read 6,000 meters in a couple of days would be tough. So we have to meet certain deadlines, and it just didn't show the staffing.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, if I can add, I was going to sort of reiterate Dennis's last point there is that we know that there's a lot that can go wrong with this, and that when, you know, right now Alexander's does a good job on the rare occasions where there's a problem, we see how quickly things could go wrong. So for us, knowing that Alexander has experience in our community, and that we have had good working relationship with them and are comfortable with them, goes a long way versus the idea. And in the scheme of things, one bid was $104,000, the other was $107,000. So was it worth the $3,000 to try somebody new that we aren't familiar with that could start making mistakes that add up very quickly? We decided to recommend the Alexander's contract.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion and a second to approve item number 4?
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. We're going to move now to the public hearing. This is the introduction of ordinance to amend Article 3, Chapter 12, Section 3987.1 of the Port Hueneme Municipal Code to reduce the maximum number of commercial cannabis businesses allowed in the city and find the action is exempt from CEQA. Madam Clerk, do we have proof of publication as required by law and a complete files of reports and exhibits?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Great, thank you. Will staff please present the report?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, members of the public. So as indicated in your explanation of the item, agenda item number 6 is a public hearing regarding a potential amendment to the municipal code. If approved, this would decrease the number of cannabis businesses that are allowed to operate in the city. As stated in the staff report, and as will be mentioned in the presentation, approval of this action would not impact any existing business. When the city's cannabis program was first established, the recreational cannabis market was in its early stages. At that time, competition was limited, and the regulatory landscape was just taking shape. The primary purpose for the city creating that program was to add additional revenue to the city's general fund and spur economic development in the city, while providing a regulated and compliant framework for cannabis-related businesses. As the council may recall, at the start of last year, we had 17 approved development agreements for cannabis-based businesses. As the market has evolved, several challenges have emerged. These include increased competition from illegal cannabis sales, high state taxes and complex state regulations, expansion of cannabis operations in nearby cities of Oxnard and Ventura, and impacts from broader economic challenges. As a result of those challenges, the local cannabis industry in our city has been adversely impacted. Revenues generated by cannabis businesses within the city have declined significantly over the last few years. In some cases, cannabis businesses have ceased operating and have entirely closed. In other cases, businesses that had approved plans were ultimately unable to open. In communicating with the existing operators, I can tell you that existing cannabis businesses that are in operation continue to face ongoing financial and competitive challenges, further impacting the stability of the local market. In response to those conditions, on October 20th, the City Council provided staff with direction to return to Council with a recommendation to consider revising Municipal Code Section 3987.1 to reduce the maximum number of retail dispensaries, delivery businesses, lounges, and manufacturing and distribution licenses. There is no established industry standard that defines an appropriate business to population ratio for cannabis operations. However, when Port Hueneme is compared with other cities, it becomes clear that our current cap on cannabis businesses is very high given our population and market size. The chart on this slide illustrates by business type the current cap, the number of existing businesses in that business type, and the proposed revised cap. It's important to note that the proposed cap reduction would not require the closure of any existing cannabis business. All businesses that are currently operating would be unimpacted by the change, and any completed application that's under review at the time of the effective date of the new cap, if approved, would be allowed to continue through the application process. However, under this approach, no new cannabis applications would be accepted until the total number of businesses fall below the newly established cap. This would allow the market to naturally rebalance over time. The item presented to you is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Title 14, Section 15061B3, which states projects are exempt when it can be seen that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment. And the fiscal impact we're hoping to achieve, limiting the number of businesses that are allowed to operate. We are hoping that that will enhance the long-term sustainability of approved businesses and help stabilize revenues that are provided to the city. To restate the recommendation before you, it's to open the public hearing, take testimonial and documentary evidence, close the public hearing and consider that evidence, introduce an ordinance of the City of Port Hueneme to amend Article 3, Chapter 12, Section 3987.1 of the Port Hueneme Municipal Code to reduce the maximum number of commercial cannabis businesses allowed to operate within the City of Port Hueneme, make a determination the project is exempt under CEQA, and to take any additional related action that may be desirable. That concludes the staff presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Council members, do you have any questions? Councilmember Lopez? And only questions at this time.
Yeah, so with the 65% revenue drop from 22 to 25, of the 7 performing cannabis retail stores, what kind of percentage are we seeing declining sales on those still open businesses?
It's a moving target, so it's hard to say. I will say that anecdotally, some of our existing operators have stabilized. Some are continuing to face economic challenges, and we're still seeing a month-over-month decline in their revenues. I don't have specific percentages for each of the operators, but I will say some of them seem to be stabilizing, and in my communications with them, they reinforce that feeling that they're finding kind of that point of stability, and there are a handful that have not reached that and are continuing to struggle and finding that revenues continually decline.
Okay, so what if we had a struggling business and they wanted to sell the business prior to getting this permit pulled? Is that a viable solution?
So our municipal ordinance does provide for the transfer of an existing business. There is a process and a vetting that the city would undertake. So while the option is there, it's not necessarily a guarantee. The city has the opportunity to vet information about the qualifications of what would be the incoming or the new business. So that is an option, but not something that is promised or guaranteed to any new operator.
Because our long-term goal is innovation and opportunity. If a new, more innovative operator wants to apply but is blocked by an underperforming business that he was trying to assume, so we're saying no, we're just going to stick to the cap?
No, if there was a high-performing business that had a solid business plan, that had experience, and the city had a level of confidence that this would be a successful operation, that would be something subject to review by the city that, based on those hypotheticals, could potentially be approved if it was a transfer of an existing business, yes.
Okay, so our goal is to reduce the density saturation. But when you look, can you go back to the chart with all the numbers? Okay, so if we're only going to say 5 retail cannabis dispensaries, but we're still open for business for cannabis lounges, manufacturing, and distribution, that's not really lowering the density. So why not just say 5, 4, 2, 1, 1, and we cap it there, because these numbers are not moving. The question, I guess the real question is, how would a cannabis lounge work? If I was just strictly going to be a cannabis lounge, don't I have to have a retail store as well?
You do. That's in our cannabis, or implementing cannabis ordinance. So that is a requirement. The alignment of 5 cannabis dispensaries and 5 cannabis lounges effectively means that we would allow, sometime in the future, if we had 5, we would allow the opportunity for any and all of those 5 to consider opening lounges, subject to city review.
Got it.
Yeah, so the hope would actually be that we have 5 successful dispensaries who eventually say we'd all like to have
A
5
lounge.
lounges. Yeah, so or a lounge each for the 5. So that's why those numbers make sense. And if they are successful and they can pull off a micro business that actually does all the functions, I think that's another reason why having that consistent number of 5 is what you'd really want. The dream scenario, which we probably won't happen, or at least anytime soon, but it would be that you have 5 businesses who are actually doing the dispensary, the lounge, the manufacturing, and the distribution, and that would be a great scenario. But the manufacturing and distribution continue to be a challenge in Southern California, so due to costs. So.
Okay. Well, all right. This is a comment, but those were the only questions I had. Thank you.
My question is kind of like a legal question. We're allowing 7 businesses in operation right now, but we have a cap of 5. Is there any? I mean, it's conflicting. But
no, you're setting the new cap, but the ordinance provides that current permitted businesses can continue in use. So at some point, if those businesses cease operation, that slot will then disappear. And it'll go down to 6 and then down to 5. And at that point, you'll be at your cap. So there's no immediate effect on existing operations.
So could there be a scenario where a business is trying to sell and then we say, well, no. And then they report it, well, look, you had 7 in operation even though you had a 5 cap.
Right. And yeah, that's I think what Charles was addressing before. And if an existing permitted business wanted to transfer its business to another operator, there's a mechanism to do that, which would still maintain you at 7 permitted uses. But that new operator would have to fully qualify just as any new applicant would and be vetted by the city and approved.
Okay.
So there's no guarantee that would be permitted, but there is a mechanism for it.
You have any questions?
I do. So just so I'm looking at this table correctly, and I've never been very good at math, but it seems that we have 7 retail cannabis dispensaries in operation, and 2 of them have lounges. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we don't have, cannabis lounges, as Councilman Lopez was referring to, are not standalone. Are the delivery businesses standalone, or are they part of retail cannabis dispensary?
So the row there that indicates delivery-only businesses, those are standalone and separate. I will note that many of the retail cannabis dispensaries have delivery services as well, but the row for delivery-only business is a separate business type.
And then manufacturing, of the 7, 1 is a manufacturing business?
Yeah, we have one business that is a micro business that has both manufacturing, distribution, as well as retail operation.
And then distribution, we only have 1 that does distribution. What does that mean? Don't they all distribute?
I wish I had the definitions before me. They all sell. They have retail operations. The distribution involves the packaging and
It's basically
Distribution
wholesale.
to other
Yeah.
companies. Okay, other businesses. Okay, very good. Thanks. I understand
It
now.
requires a separate state license to transfer it from one to another.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, we're now going to open the public hearing and take public comments. So the hearing is now open. It is 7:17. Are there any public comments regarding this item?
There are no in-person public comments. I just wanted to note that one of the written comments was for this item.
Great, thank you. There are no other comments. I'm going to close the public hearing. So it has concluded, and the time is now 7:17. Okay, so we have before us the recommendation to introduce an ordinance of the City of Port Hueneme to amend Article 3, Chapter 12, Section 3987.1 of the Port Hueneme Municipal Code, reduce the maximum number of commercial cannabis businesses allowed to operate within the City of Port Hueneme. Number 4, make a determination the project is exempt from CEQA. And 5, take such additional related action that may be desirable. May I have a motion and a second?
Move to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? No discussion?
I have a comment.
Okay, go right ahead.
So with Port Hueneme's population of 22,000, that would be one retailer per 4,400 residents. And yes, it's not just Port Hueneme. We have other Ventura County neighbors that do visit our dispensaries. So the number is still high. So there is still oversaturation, but it's a good start. Like it, and you're telling me that the current retailers are happy with the cap.
I don't want to speak specifically for any retailer. I will say genuinely, they are supportive of a reduction of the cap. As a business owner, if I were in their shoes, I might want a cap of 1, being my business. But yes, they are supportive of reducing the number, and I did get some positive feedback specifically from 3 businesses, and I did not receive any hesitation or any negative feedback from any operator.
Yeah, and then the public comment was in support of. So that was just my comment. I think the saturation, it's survival of the fittest is happening, and the stronger companies are actually surviving. So,
Can I add one
Yes, go
point,
right
just
ahead.
kind of right in line with that? Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and the thing that we've talked a lot about is it seems counterintuitive to say that we're helping our businesses by putting a cap and not allowing more of these types of businesses. But that's also a factor that we really want to highlight, is just that the caps typically actually sort of do help because they provide opportunities for other businesses. And so, like right this minute, we all know that there are several properties that the city believed that were eventually going to be dispensaries that are still being held vacant because people still are holding out hope that eventually they can, like, you know, figure out how to put a dispensary there. But the market has just changed so much. And so by putting a cap and it should encourage some of those other vacant buildings right now that to actually be put to use for other purposes. And we've seen that happen in other cities and things where, you know, if 20 properties were being earmarked for cannabis, but now only 5 businesses are opening, well, now you're putting 15 businesses, and especially in a built-out city that's not very, big for us, it's like this is potentially opportunities for, 7 or 8 other businesses that right now wouldn't be able to afford the rent of that business or wouldn't be able to rent it because it's being held for cannabis purposes. So it seems counterintuitive, but it's sort of addition by subtraction for economic development purposes, or that's our goal and our hope with it. So.
Yeah, and since the inception of the dispensaries in Port Hueneme, what is the highest number of dispensaries have we had open at one time?
I think we had issued all 12 permits. but all 12 never opened at the same time. And I want to say the top, I believe, might have been 9.
I was going to say 8 or 9. I can't remember specifically, but it's either 8 or 9 was the peak.
We've had a couple the permits that were issued under that original cap that just never opened. So we've never gotten to that. We've gotten to the max permits issued. We have not gotten to the max businesses open.
And it did just come clear to me, you're right, it was 9.
Yeah, I think so.
It was 9.
Great. Any other questions?
Questions,
Or
just a
comments, any
comment, yeah.
comments,
You know, it's interesting that it's been somewhat of a wild ride. If you go back to when Hueneme was out in front and being the first city to bring in cannabis, and then to where we are now. So, you know, I think it's a reflective of what's happening in the market. And then I also appreciate the fact that with this, we're kind of making a statement like, hey, let's look at other business opportunities and bring into our city. There's a lot of things happening in and around the city of Port Hueneme, so hopefully that this could tie into our economic development plans.
Right. Thank you. If there are no other questions, we'll move over to you. Madam Clerk, can you take a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez.
Yes.
And Mayor McQueen-Lejean.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. We're going to move to item number 7, Ocean Protection Council, SB1, Sea Level Rise Adaption, Planning Grant, Track 1. Will staff please present the report?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, members of the audience, and staff. You have before you tonight a Ocean Protection Council Sea Level Rise Adaptation Planning Grant that we've previously applied for. Public Works applied for it. This is to pass a resolution that will authorize us to go ahead and proceed with those documents as they come forward, and then also ratifying our submittal of the original plan, and then also allow staff to pursue other grants that come up that are related to this, either to this specific OPC SB1 or others that are related to it that are with sea level rise and adaptation resilience. So kind of a overview here. We have we've applied what is called for a track 1, which it's a planning phase. We have not heard back from them yet. The reason why we're coming to you after the fact is when we found out about the grant, it was already past the ability to get to council to ask for it beforehand. So that's why we're asking for it afterwards. And there was a deadline, so we had to get them submitted. So we went ahead and proceeded with that with James' approval. And so we did that. And then a second phase, if we do get awarded, is what they call their track 2, which would be for implementation. The track 2 phases, I did see an email that came last week that they're starting to kind of roll that information out, but it's on a rolling basis. So we're at the beginning stages of this, so we don't really have any real information on that track 2, but we do want to be able to go ahead and have council's approval so we can move forward on track 1 should we get approved. What are some of the things that we submitted? We submitted a whole application package, but with the main themes being that it's for community visioning and vulnerability assessments. So things like modeling, monitoring. Some of the things we're looking at is how sea level rise would affect us. As you all know, we have at the end of Bubbling Springs Creek, we have the county flood control station, which drains a large portion of our city. So with that, that would be something that we could go ahead and study to see how that could ultimately affect if sea level rise were to go ahead and become a bigger factor. What kind of things could we do to ensure that we don't have issues with that at that point of discharge? Also, the Oxnard West drain, which runs down the center of Channel Islands Boulevard, and essentially the entire north end of the city drains to that. So getting monitoring stations in there so we could see how tidal influence would affect that, and also couple that with tidal influence with different types of storm events and how that affects the drainage patterns. So those would be something that we definitely want to be looking at and getting more information on. A shoreline survey, which will help monitor the sand movement, which we know we're very interested in knowing. Also, we would want to go ahead and be able to get a consultant to help package all of that data together to give us a big picture view of under what different types of scenarios, what could we expect to happen in those different types of events. So that's all part of that, not to mention the grant does require that we do a lot of public outreach, community workshops, reaching out to environmental justice groups, doing a Native American outreach. So those would all be part of that. And again, this is the very beginning part of this. So if we get awarded this money, it would be something that there will be multiple things that would be coming back to the council for review and approval. So initially, our application is requesting $874,000. So that would be applied. It's a 3-year initiative, so we'd have that time frame to do all these things that we're hoping to get and then get the data back from that, so we could then hopefully get approved for the track 2, which is for implementation of what we would find out in this planning phase. What we believe the city would get out of this if we were to get this track 1 is all these things that we would be getting initially would then be something that we could use as a defensible basis for future capital projects, being able to go ahead and have those plans in place. The adaptation plans and resilience plans would then also be something that would look very good in getting the track 2 money, which would give us the money to be able to actually do the stuff that we find out. So we believe those are all things that would be beneficial for us. The initial track 1 answers on whether would be eligible for the track 1 funding is they've indicated that it'd be before the end of this month. So hopefully we'll have a positive answer and we'll know, and if that's the case, then we can start moving forward with getting some of these other things in line to get going with that. The grant itself is a reimbursable grant, so the city would have to pay the money up front, but once all the documentation and invoicing was submitted, then we'd go ahead and get full reimbursement for that. So there may be some items that we may need to come back to council for initially to ask for authorization to get the appropriations. And then once we would submit all of that, we'd be able to get that reimbursed again. So the item that is most important tonight is that the resolution be passed so we can submit that and then continue to move forward with that. And if you have other questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. But I also want to make a quick mention, this whole package of stuff, it's a lot of work, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I appreciate our principal engineer, Ray Gutierrez. He did the heavy lifting for all of this stuff. He wasn't able to attend tonight, but he deserves all the credit for what's before you.
Great, great. Are there any questions? Any questions? Do you have questions?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
So looking at the track 1, there's a lot of survey, a lot of planning, a lot of vision, a lot of assessments. But when it comes down to, they seem like just things that are going to happen after the fact. Like these are not, you're not going to build up on the coastline. Are there any ways we can actually change this as well? Because you're talking vision, community visioning. Are there other recommendations we could also put on the table to utilize some of that money?
What we submitted for were things that we felt were more aligned with what we need now, that we know are concerns for us, as I mentioned before, being able to do consistent monitoring of our coastline and how the sand reacts, and all that would be tied in at a much higher level than my expertise is. But if there's events that are happening, but then using all of that and having the consulting experts be able to tie that all in together to tell us, here's the things that we do. Of course, like the community visiting is part of it, is having these workshops and information to find out other things that are important as well that could be tied in the grand scheme of things. This is kind of the getting the ball rolling for that part.
Yeah, because the only reason why I say that is because there's a thing called BioRock, and it's basically mineral acceleration technology. They put metal rods into the ocean with low voltage power. Could be solar panels that float. Proven. This worked in the Maldives, and it grew 2 miles of beach line. And what this does is it actually calcifies coral, and which kind of turns into cement, and it extends the beach. That's why I'm getting at is, are you going to allow community to make inputs to this? Because to me, this would be expanding the coastline, helping the shoreline.
Yeah, all of this would be subject to much discussion amongst not just the council, but community. If there are things like that, I'm not a marine biologist. I don't know anything about that. So, like you mentioned, the Maldives, they probably have a much more available environment to grow a coral reef than we may have right here. Again,
Well, it's basically technology, man. It's a science, right? So it's called BioRock. I actually sent an email I'll forward it to you.
Okay. I mean, certainly we can, as we get along into this process, I'm sure there are things that we can, it's an adaptation thing too, so we can adapt as well to things that will best fit what our specific needs are.
Thank you.
If I can just add on that point, the track one portion, which is what this is to do the studying and the planning, which then could lead to track two, which would be the implementation for specific projects. So one of the key things I think that appealed to me with this is that the idea of really studying and monitoring and understanding the potential flooding patterns and tidal movement and how that can impact our beach, but also our drains. And so once we understand that, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is I think that the next step is a really big step, probably the big lift once we get that data, because the other thing we have to do is then we have to go cross-jurisdictional, because as we've all talked about, improvements to the channels or improvements to parts of the beach will require the county or the harbor district or, other agencies. So I think our thought was track one is sort of get that data, and then track two would then be able to figure out how we want to implement and what are the projects that we would implement as part of that.
Great. Any other questions? Great. Councilmember Perez.
James, you took my question.
Okay. Should've waited
So
30
my
minutes.
question was, wouldn't that have been nice a few years ago to have all this monitoring information so we could see how what's going on with the channel? But to the point, once we get to that point, we have to ask permission, right, to go down and implement this and the other side of the pump station you're talking about, which is owned by the county as well. So you took my question.
My
so.
guess is after we have the data, I think that we're gonna have to have conversations
Yeah.
with the county about potential future collaborative projects.
And at this point, we're not aware that either the county or anyone else, Oxnard, has applied for this funding yet. If they have, then maybe there's an opportunity to work in collaboration with them to get an even bigger picture of improvements.
Well, yeah,
if we get to
that's
point.
my next thinking. Since this is a multi-jurisdictional project potentially, wouldn't they be helpful in the grant process and in boosting our application at all? And sometimes having bigger, like the county involved, or other agencies might help us to get approval.
It's something that, yeah, we can follow up and see if they have indeed applied for this stuff. When we got this grant, we literally had like 48 hours to put a whole package together
It was
and
Christmas
get it
week.
submitted. Otherwise, lose the opportunity to even get to this point.
Right. Well, good looking out for the grants. Glad you stayed on top of it.
Councilmember Gama.
Funny, this is on the agenda today. I drove over to Silver Strand Beach during high tide, and I got there right after the parking lot flooded. The waves were like 15, 20 feet today. The surfing was amazing. You know, if you drive around during high tide, you notice that water comes really far in, and then when you go out at low tide, it goes really far out. And so it's the peaks that are remarkable. And like today probably would have been a really good day to monitor, because like I said, half of the parking lot at Silver Strand got flooded during the high tide. So yeah, I think the most important thing is to coordinate with the partners that we know exist, the county, the city of Oxnard, because if we're over here making plans, then we got to make sure those before us are making the same plans or using the same technology, because oftentimes, so I want to make sure that you know, we are coordinating, we are sharing, and making sure that everybody's using the same facts, the same data.
Great. Mayor Pro Tem?
I have a question, a couple of questions. I'm really excited about this, first of all, and I appreciate staff's work on this. My first question has to do with SB1. Is that the legislation that sets the deadline for having sea level rise plans by 2034? Is there a
That's-
deadline attached to this?
There is, but that's under SB 272, which
Okay.
sets January 1st, 2034 as all coastal communities having to have
Okay,
plans.
Okay, great. And then I see under track 1 that there is a vulnerability analysis or assessment. Will that assessment include cost estimation of impact to infrastructure and buildings? Will we be able to look at the value of the infrastructure that could be damaged or eliminated as a result of sea level rise?
I would imagine, yeah, that a lot of that would have to come from us, our own staff, to say, here's what we have in these areas. And so they could be able to help put a number to those types of things.
And I ask that because I'm hoping at some point we can discuss the idea of doing a white paper on our coastal conditions and the dredging that we do, so that when we go to DC, we've got solid facts, numbers, information that we can say, hey, look, this is how much damage, dollar damage that the city is going to incur if we don't do this, if we don't dredge, if we don't come up with other solutions for protecting our coastline. So, and that leads me to my next question. Is it possible to see the grant application?
Yes, we can get that to the city manager and he can distribute it.
Yeah, I'm primarily interested in the narrative
Okay,
that was written, because I think it'll be helpful for some of the work we're doing through RDP.
okay.
Great, thanks.
Great. If there are no other questions, do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
Again, no in-person public comments, but one written comment was received for this item.
Great, thank you. So we have before us the recommendation to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Hueneme, California, authorizing the city's participation in the Ocean Protection Council SB1 Sea Level Rise Adaptation Planning Grant, Track 1, ratifies submittal of the grant application, authorizing execution of the grant documents, and authorizing submittal of future related grant applications, ratifies staff's submittal of the city's grant proposal on December 19th, 2025, and authorizing the city manager or designee to execute all grant-related documents if awarded. And number 2, to authorize the Public Works Director or designee to apply for and submit future grant applications that are consistent with the Ocean Protection Council SB1 program and other related coastal resilience C level rise planning and implementation grant opportunities subject to city manager approval and consistency in the city council priorities. May I have a motion and a second?
Move to approve?
Second?
Great. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion?
Good job. Please pass that on to staff, to Mr. Gutierrez.
Okay.
Thank you very
I
much.
will do that.
Let's go ahead and take a vote, Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Cameron,
Thank
for
you.
your. All right, we'll move to item number 8, review of the City Council Policy and Procedures Manual and resolution approving the amendment. Will staff please present the report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this item was on last agenda, and council discussed and reviewed the City Council Policy and Procedures Manual. The City Council, thank you. The City Council had discussed some potential changes, and I think generally had discussed them, but then had given direction to staff to work through the language and put together an update based on that, and then bring it back to council for consideration. So the item is back before council. In the staff report, we note the changes that were made. Items 1 through 4 are the items that we had noted staff recommended to just ensure compliance with laws and with the city standard practices. But now there's a second group, 5 additional items that are noted that were added after the last council meeting at council direction. And so the 5 items were, we included the attachment of the future agenda item request form with the manual, so that is now included. We included a agenda packet distribution timeline that showed an intent to distribute agenda packets 7 days prior to scheduled meetings. And with a thank you to our team and Georgiana for sticking to that this first meeting and starting to get that out 1 week prior. On item 3 was was the language regarding restriction on community outreach, non-essential community outreach events during election periods. And we included specific language to that end. And then item 4 is related timeline adjustments for the future agenda items. So when we changed the timeline for the packet to go out, it changed the timeline for the future agenda item process. So we just reflected that to match. And then last was city attorney recommendation. The language in the manual previously had some language that required a supermajority vote for the council to amend rules and procedures, which is outdated language and should be restated to just say majority vote to amend rules and procedures. And so those 5 have been added. If all of those are agreeable to the council, they're included and they can be adopted, or if the council wishes to discuss any of those changes or provide any feedback or additional direction, that could be done at this time. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Any questions of staff? Of the city manager?
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
one,
go right ahead.
I have one question. Thank you, Mayor. How is this information on the policy and procedures being disseminated and used for training of our commissions and other governing bodies like Measure U and the CAC?
Starting last year, the council included, added the language that it was applicable as well to the commissioners. So starting last year, once it's adopted, we distribute it to each council member, but we also distribute it to each commissioner as well, and make sure that they get a copy of it with notes on any updates. So that would be done this year as well.
And then one more question, if I may. At one point, we started the practice of signing it, so our signatures were on it. Are we going to continue to do that for everybody, all groups that this applies to, not just council, but?
Yes, I believe it includes, yes, it still includes the acknowledgement on page 30. And so 30 of 30, the numbering on the manual is a little different than the agenda numbering, but page 30 of 30 of the manual. So it still includes the acknowledgement, so we'd require a signed acknowledgement.
Very good, thank you.
Great. No other questions? Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay. Well, we have before us a recommendation to consider the attached policy and procedures manual, which includes language for City Council consideration based on feedback from City Council at the January 20th, 2026 meeting, and adopt the attached resolution approving the manual as modified. Is there a motion and a second?
Move to approve.
Second.
Great. Is there any discussion?
Yes. So item number 3, I have a question. I probably should have thought about it earlier, but it just dawned on me. So an individual who potentially may be running for council but is not a current council member, if they're part of a service organization, so 90 days before the
Election?
election, sorry, my brain froze, election, they can't participate in their club's regular fundraising projects?
So the way it's drafted, I was trying to pull it up for us to see, and I still might try to do that, but the way it's drafted, it restricts the city from initiating new, new non-essential events.
Okay, so the city is the
Yeah,
key word.
So,
Okay.
and
I just wanted to make
so
clarification.
I don't see that having the ability to say, a nonprofit can't do an event and a council member can't, or somebody running for office can't show up for that
Okay.
event. So.
That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we did not have any public comments, so was there a motion? We got a motion and a second. No further discussion? No? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. We're going to move to the last item, the City Council appointment to City Port Committee and discussion of committee goals. Will staff please present the report?
Yes, and you may note that the recommendation listed on the item is for council to continue the item, which we typically don't do. The reason why that's the recommendation is that last week, our last council meeting, we had talked about adding this item to the agenda to discuss the City Port Committee and a potential appointment to the committee. It was actually, I think in the staff report I said subsequent to the meeting, but I think it was actually during the meeting that we received confirmation that the port had just held their meeting and that they are planning to propose modifications to the community benefit fund process that could ultimately modify the purpose of the committee or the function of the committee, or potentially whether we'd even have a committee, which would be something that the council would, it would be a modification agreed to by both parties, so that's something that the council would have input on. But so we were notified that the port board had given their port staff direction to write up a proposal and send it to us. So, and both I received that notification, and then I think the attorney for the port notified our city attorney as well.
I haven't received anything. I spoke to the port's attorney on January 6th, and he indicated at that time that something was forthcoming. And then at the meeting 2 weeks ago, at the meeting, he indicated that he would be reaching out to me, but I have yet to have anything sent to me or receive anything from him.
So in short, since we'd be talking about an appointment that we're not exactly sure how it would work or what it would do this year, our recommendation is to simply continue this item until we do receive that information, and then we'll have a better idea of what the committee is intended to do, or if that, just all the details of that committee, and therefore be better prepared to make the appointments to the committee. So for that reason, the staff recommendation was to continue the item at this time.
Great. Are there any questions? No? Questions?
Okay, so let's look at a scenario where perhaps the port decides that there's an issue that comes up, and they want to meet with the city. How will we go about designating some representatives from the city to attend that meeting? I think we I guess what I'm getting at is, do you think that we should have somebody on standby in the event that there is a request for a meeting and we can't get it on the agenda?
Couple points in response, and one is I actually do meet with the port CEO every 2 weeks, and we've continued to meet for the last, generally for the last year plus. We meet every 2 weeks, and so we do actually still continue to meet and work through issues. And I want to also always take the opportunity to say, and actually, we actually work on some good things for the community. That's where the idea of continuing the 5K stemmed from, was from those conversations. And then also we are currently working on with the port on a grant opportunity that would benefit both the city and the port, and that's something that the port CEO and I continue to work through. So if a true emergency arises, we still meet and we still have each other's phone number, and we both still use those phone numbers. If there's a request to meet committee to committee, one thing is we can put this item back on the agenda basically every 2 weeks. So if they did ask, I don't think we've ever met on like less than a 2 weeks notice from the port. So if they did make a request to meet, then we'd put this on the next agenda and ask council to designate 2 people to meet. And, at that point we'd know what the purpose and the topic is. So I think, is it possible that, something happens and there's a need for a meeting and shorter than that? It's possible, but it seems fairly unlikely, and I can't think of a situation where that's happened to this point. So,
Knock on wood.
so yeah, I know,
Okay.
probably just jinxed us.
So in your city manager comments,
Mhm.
can you add that as an agenda item to share with us what's coming out of these meetings?
Mm-hmm.
with
Oh,
the port?
be a council, I guess that's a question for the council. I think one of the challenges with, if the question is, can we have a regular report on staff-to-staff meetings? I think that's a challenge, because a lot of times what we're talking about are things ideas that we're kicking around that might not ever become anything. For every grant that we partner on, we may have talked about 10 other grants that ended up not working out, or ended up, we didn't meet the criteria. So, I typically provide updates to the council when there's something notable to report, I think, via email. So that's my standard practice, and I'd recommend it. I think having a regular item on every meeting reporting on what the CEO and I talked about that week isn't going to be productive or maybe as interesting as people think it may be.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Great. So we have before us to continue this item until such time the city receives and can review the proposal from the port.
Mike, Mayor?
From the Port of Hueneme, Oxnard Harbor District, to modify the Community Benefit Fund process and/or joint committee. May I have a motion and a second?
Move to approve?
Second.
Great. Any discussion?
Yes, I do have a comment. I think James is pretty good about letting us know things that we need to know, and I trust him to let us know when things come up. And my understanding is, actually, this is a question, so I don't know if I can ask it. But the committee meeting was mainly established to talk about the Community Benefit Fund, was it not? It wasn't necessarily established to deal with port problems.
Yeah,
Groups.
per the contract, it's for the Community Benefit Fund, but that's actually one of the things that I think the council needs to talk about, that also we need to know what the port would like to do, where there's a question for the 10 elected officials to agree on, are there going to be other topics? Is it only going to be Community Benefit Fund? Or, like I said, there was a comment at the last port meeting, and we don't know if this is going to be part of the proposal, but there was one comment about whether there needs to continue to be a meeting at all, so.
Which I agree with. I think that if that is the case, whatever the proposal is from the port, then I think this body needs to establish a clear criteria, because it hasn't been very clear as to what that committee is supposed to do. Mainly it's been for Community Benefit Fund, but we do need to establish a clear criteria of what that body will do for the future, depending on whatever that outcome of that meeting is.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned that, we're told that we're going to be receiving information and then we don't receive it. And then here we are tabling. So I just, to the port, I would say, hey, let's get this conversation going.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just, for somebody who's served on the Port City Committee beginning in 2019, we have met for other reasons than the Community Benefit Fund. So there's some history there. So I wouldn't say that it may be in the contract, but we did meet for other reasons as well. So just to clarify that.
Great. Anyone else? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Madam Clerk, will you take a vote, please?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. So we'll move to the city manager comments and reports.
Thank you. Just a few things to report on. We talked last meeting, and we showed a before and after of the mid-cycle dredging completed, and we showed that we had a good before photo last meeting that showed how we had very little beach left, and now we have an actual beach. So we're very appreciative of the partnerships that resulted in the mid-cycle dredging being completed and the Army Corps of Engineers for completing the project. But the reason why we actually are mentioning it this week is because now that it's completed, as of, I think it was last Tuesday, the promenade is officially back open, and we were receiving a number of questions and calls about, when people could get back out on the promenade. So it is open now. I actually was out there Friday, out on the promenade myself and checking out the sand. So anybody who's been waiting to get back out there can get out there again. Second, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update and then some news that last council meeting, the council approved the West Ventura County Business Alliance partnership. We noted at that time that there was still one more step, that the Business Alliance had to actually then approve it as well. And so the good news to report back is they did approve it, and then they invited the mayor and I to attend their annual meeting and installation of directors on Friday, January 30th. And this picture is from that meeting, where it was actually one of the last announcements they made at the end of their, it was a 2-hour meeting, very interesting meeting. I joked with some people that if we hadn't just become members, I would have been jealous of all the good things they're doing. But now that we're members, we get to start joining in on some of those things. So it was a good meeting, and then right before they ended, they made the announcement that they had approved and they welcomed the City of Port Hueneme aboard as new partners. So that's great news. And then we have worked with the Business Alliance to put out some information through various channels and a press release announcing that as well. And then, the last piece on that is that one of the first things that they've asked us to do is they have a business, I forget the exact name, but it's a business advocacy group, and it's essentially a group that when businesses are trying to do business in cities and they run into issues, that they have a group that can kind of get them in the right place and help solve things quickly. And that's been something that we've been trying to figure out how to build too. And so we already met with the Business Alliance and appointed our staff person who's going to participate in those meetings. So we're already getting lined up with them to move forward on some of those projects. And then this actually started today, so we wanted to announce it before it sells out, because I think last year it sold out in a I think it was less than a week last year. But we announced the registration is open for the Sea Splash Color Dash 5K and Kids 1K. It is officially open starting today. I have already registered, and then I got an update, I think, from Recreation that maybe, I think between adults and kids, over 100 people have already registered. So anybody watching this who is planning to eventually register, you might want to get to it sooner than later, because these tend to go fast. This is the event I mentioned earlier that we are doing in partnership with the City of Port Hueneme and the Port of Hueneme. We are continuing to partner on this project, and we will co-host this event for the community, and it includes the 5K and the educational health and wellness fair as well. So, and then for February 17th, we have the following items scheduled currently for the agenda. We have the State of the Region report presented by the Ventura County Civic Alliance. They have indicated they plan to attend that day. We have the Mother Language Day proclamation. And then for public hearings, we have an item where we're trying to, it's called the Job Order Contract Ordinance Amendment, and we're bringing forward a job order contract ordinance to try to really improve our public works purchasing processes. And then for business items, we have our annual legislative platform review. We are bringing forward, we brought an item to council similar to the one tonight, but several months ago we brought an item where we asked council to approve us applying for a grant to do, it was called a turf removal grant, but it was really to essentially do water conservation, water-friendly gardens, type projects, landscaping type projects at City Hall, and then a little part of Miranda Park. And so we have obtained that grant, and we'll give some more information, but the long and short of why this is on the agenda again is overall, I think it's a very good grant. The one step for us left is that the grantor has a master contract with a company that essentially puts the plans together and then does the work. So it's actually all done sort of through the grantor. And we wanted to bring the plans that they put together for City Hall and for Miranda Park and show the council what they're going to do before they do it. And so I think it's about $700,000, which is great. And then the one little asterisk I've got to put on it right now is, but with all the work and everything, that $700,000 goes pretty quick. So we don't have a whole lot of wiggle room with it, but we want to present it to the council. And then if there are any just major concerns or questions, we want to make sure we answer them. So we'll be bringing that to the council on the 17th as well. And then we have a couple other things floating around we're working on. There was a request last year to bring back some analysis on the questions that we had received about how a bike lane or however close we could get to a bike lane could be considered for Ventura Road. So we were going to bring back some information on that if time allows. There's a couple other items that might kind of push that out, but so that's currently the plan for February 17th at this time. So, and that's everything I have.
Great, thank you. We'll go to the council members' reports.
Questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Questions? You all have any questions?
I have a couple of questions. Thank you. So I think everybody's really happy that the promenade is open. But I think that I'm wondering if it's going to be closed again come October, September, when they start the dredging program again. Is that likely?
Yes, and I think unfortunately, it's kind of that mixed news because every time the promenade closes for the dredge, it's unfortunate the promenade closes, but I think we're also glad that the dredge happens. So hopefully, it sounds weird, I just had to explain, but hopefully, yes.
Okay. And then I saw in today's email that there were volunteer opportunities for Sea Splash event, and I ran into somebody at the wetlands event who was interested in volunteering, but I didn't know how to direct them. If somebody is interested in volunteering, how do they do that?
We'll send an email with the best point of contact. We'll send an email to the council on that.
Okay. And then we typically do goal setting at the beginning of the year. Are there any plans to have an item on the agenda to discuss goal setting for this next year? I'm suggesting that it maybe be, the low-hanging fruit kinds of things.
Yeah, I think we can do that. We haven't had that as a. It's not included on any. We have like some annual schedules of different things, and so we've done them, as the council requested, so it can be done, but we just don't have it planned until it's requested.
And then, where are we with the immigration training and materials?
So, if council recalls, when we had the discussion previously, there was the county had said that they were coordinating a countywide immigration training. Well, actually, they didn't say countywide, but they said they were coordinating a immigration response training. And so the council gave direction for the staff to contact them and see if we could also, participate with that and ensure that everybody's getting the same information and the same training. So we have done that. We have connected with the county. They have told us they're working on it, and that they will get that we'd be welcome to participate, and that they would get back to us. I think the reality, without speaking for them, but I think the reality is I think that the situation is so dynamic and changing so quickly, and sort of, some of the rules have changed from what, people had understood, that I think they're trying to figure out how to give that training. So I think that's what's been the struggle. But it's also why, we talked about this at the time, was one of the concerns we had was, a lot of the concern would be giving out information that is not good information. And I think that's the challenge they're running into, is trying to stay up to date and give information that's accurate right now. So, so we've made contact with them. They said we're welcome and that they'd include us. And then we kind of check in every month, and they're working on it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to council member comments, reports. Councilmember McCray?
No comments.
Okay, great. No Not comment. Great, but okay. You no comment? No comment. Okay.
We had a Beacon meeting on January 23rd. We discussed the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, which there are 7 sanctuaries in the state of California, and the topic, co-stewardship opportunities, and very complicated. I have a little map here of all the partners involved in that. Yeah, we'll be hearing more on that in the future, but there is a opportunity to collaborate with co-stewardship projects down the road. We also were briefed on the Surfers Point Managed Retreat, which has completed the current phases that were on the books. It's really interesting knowing the area like I know it, having been out there since high school regularly, and then seeing what has transpired and to where it is now, and the process of managing a retreat, in other words, giving up ground to the ocean. It's very relevant to what we were talking about earlier. And this also brings us to the point that every coastal jurisdiction is different. And the big question, or the big anticipated event, is when the Matilaha Dam finally ceases to exist, because there's a whole bunch of sediment that's held up behind there. And, we're wondering how much of a positive impact it'll have at Surfers Point. So there's a lot to be learned. Yeah. And then we have an Animal Services Committee meeting coming up here, probably before our next council meeting.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, thank you. The base meetings for RDP's trip to DC have started. Mayor and I have attended some of those. I've attended one of the 2 because I couldn't find the second location. But we have more coming up this week. And Wednesday we have a strategic meeting when we'll further discuss the issues that we're taking to DC and what we need to be prepared. And we've talked last year about the idea of doing a white paper on sea level rise, coastal erosion, and dredging. So I'm not sure how to, bring that to the council, that concept of doing that, Mr. City Manager, but perhaps we can figure out a way that we can develop a white paper of some sort.
Well, I know it
I
was.
don't know if it's even our responsibility to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was discussed last year in a few different ways, but I don't think the council ever took action on it. It's not on our list of council-approved
Right.
items. So it would be a question for the council of whether the council would want to do that.
Okay.
Can I just ask, are you referring to RDP or?
RDP and just in general for, you know, when we were discussing going to DC with the port, you know, that idea came up too, for a white paper. I think it's just, it would be good to have something in our back pocket. And then I sat in on the Visita Policy Committee by invite this week, and I was happy to see that staff was on the call. Brian was on the call, and I'm happy to see that we were participating in the discussion. January 30th, I attended a press conference with Congresswoman Julia Brownley, faith-based leaders, community organizers, and elected officials from throughout Ventura County regarding the trauma and fear and mismanagement of DHS, and hoping that it'll stop. And I'm very happy to say that Liam Conejo Ramos is home. I just hope in general that we, as a city, will be prepared should anything like that happen here, because it's continuing to happen. People getting deported in a reckless fashion. World Wetlands Day with City of Oxnard Coastal Keepers, Port Hueneme, and the Morito Foundation Nature Conservancy. That happened on Saturday. It was a great event, great turnout. I think I already commented on that earlier. And then we did have a small, informal, but very nice ceremony for Alaska 261. We have the Prasad family members out here, the Ryan family, and some other family members who attended. And I want to thank James and Charles for helping arrange delivery of the ladder. And also thank all of those from the community and the city who showed up in support. Councilman Gama was there, Chief Federico was there, and we had people from Camarillo show up. It was a really nice event. So they do intend to come back every year. So I think we can expect that they will be having the same kinds of requests. It won't be as formal as last year. It'll just be small and informal. Thursday, I'll be in downtown LA all day for SCAG meetings and the Clean Power Alliance meeting. You asked at the last meeting about VCREA, what's happening with them. They're resuming meetings. They're going to have off and on meetings of the energy champions, which everybody seemed to feel was of more value than the board meetings. So those will continue, and I'll report on those as we get through the year. Also, I just wanted to bring it to your attention, Western City Magazine came out today with an article on what cities can learn from Pacifica's ambitious local coastal plan. It's worth a read. It mainly had to do with their efforts to stay engaged with the Coastal Commission, which I'm sure we're very good at and can do that as well. But I just wanted to let the council know that if they're interested in reading it, it's in Western City Magazine that you should have received today. As Site Authority, as many of you know, I'm chair of the Cal State Channel Island Site Authority. We have a new general manager, Troy Brown. The name might sound familiar because he's a former city manager for the city of Moore Park. He's a new general manager. I'll be working with him very closely in the next years to come. And he had some very nice things to say about James. And so you've got some fans out there. Anyway, I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So attending my regular meetings, I did attend Congresswoman Brownley's event last week. And Mayor Pro Tem mentioned the RDP meetings that have begun, the base meetings that have begun. And so we're looking forward to continuing to meet with the leaders of commands on Naval Base Ventura County. I did participate and was able to take the certificates over for presentation for the annual military, I think it was the 28th, Military Appreciation event, which is sponsored by the West Ventura County Alliance partnership so that was really, really nice. And and finally, I do want to thank the staff who's already making me 61. I won't be 61 to the end of the year, but the end of the month, but I've already got a birthday card. So stop rushing me. But thank you for thinking about my special day. So appreciate that. Go ahead.
Want to wish James a happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday to James.
That's why you looked at me like that.
Mayor, I do have an announcement I forgot. I wanted to announce the student speaker contest that's being given by local Lions Club. Our club is looking for hopefully a Hueneme-based high school student, but we'll take either. There's cash prizes, and there's multiple levels where they go up for local to zone to district, and the subject is youth mental health and overcoming barriers to well-being. So if anybody knows a local high school student, get in touch with me for the deadline is February 13th.
Is there a flyer you can provide?
I will, yes,
Okay, great.
I can.
Thank you. Anything else? No? Okay, when is your birthday?
Today.
Today. Oh, happy birthday.
I was about to get the best present ever, which
Oh.
was getting out by 8:17.
Cupcakes are for.
He was trying to escape us.
That's why when I mentioned my birthday, he kind of looked. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Anyway, so if nothing else, if there's nothing else, I'm going to adjourn. In observance of President's Day, the next regular meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, February 17th at 6:30. So the meeting is now adjourned. It is now 8:17. That's a pretty early meeting.